Hi everybody, you're with the sewing basket again for our daily dose on Tuesday, April 21st. You may wonder what we're doing with coffee cans. We were thinking about different things that you have going on at home, and we're pretty sure that you're all drinking. I will speak louder, thank you Cheryl. Those of you who don't know, I have some hearing issues, and right now I feel like I'm screaming at you, so hopefully you can hear me. I am working on getting a mic that will help with that as well. Anyway, we are looking at projects with things that you might have at home. We're pretty sure that you're all drinking a lot of coffee. So our favorite brand around here is Folgers, and this isn't a Folgers commercial, but we love these little resealable cans. They're so handy. So what we decided to do is make some cute little covers for those cans. It's just a little slide-on sleeve. This one is for decaf coffee because it's cream colored. If I did it with black background, it would be my regular strength coffee can. I can cover cans like this. I can cover any type of jar or can that I want to. Obviously jars you want to be careful because they break. But so many things come packaged in plastic now. What you're looking for is something that has smooth sides. This has a little ridge here, but basically it's only off by maybe 1/8 of an inch. It's pretty smooth. The big containers from Costco, things like a gallon or 2-gallon, however big those giant jars of mayonnaise are, those work great to cover. What you have to look for is the area on the jar that's smooth. This one has a little handle, but the wrap will just cover that and you won't even see it. So I can use this to store all different things in, let it sit on my countertop. It's pretty cute compared to just a plastic jar. And I can also use it for, oh look, there's my sample of how to make this. I can also use it for, without the lid, for tools. I can put my marking pencils in here, my scissors, and just use it for a cute little tool on my sewing table. So we're going to get to the really difficult process of making what we call a wrap around a can. It is very simple. You're going to take a tape measure, and I'm going to do what Cheryl and I call fast or frugal. There's always two ways to do things. One way is fast, but it might be a little more expensive. It might waste a little extra fabric. You might need a tape measure. You might need some other tools. Frugal is the most affordable way to do things. The frugal way to do this, if I didn't have a tape measure, I can take a piece of string, wrap it around here, and then the piece of string tells me how long I need to make my piece of fabric. But we're going to use a tape measure. I measure around here, and miraculously it's 12 3/4 of an inch, and I want it to be 4.5 inches tall. That is the magic number. Write that down or remember that, and we're going to start the process. I pulled this cute little sewing fabric and some fusible fleece batting. This is Pellon fusible fleece. One side is fusible. What fusible means, for those who don't know, one side has a glue product on it. It is not sticky, it's completely dry. It feels a little rough on the glue side compared to the side without glue is smooth. That glue side fuses to your fabric with the heat of an iron. So the iron heats up the glue and it sticks to the fabric. So the trick of this project is you're taking your can, and this piece of batting is going to be a perfect fit right around this can. So this is my finished size, and it's whatever size your can is. This one is 4.5 by 12 3/4. And then I'm going to take 2 pieces of fabric, and I'm going to add my seam allowance. So I'm going to add a 1/2 inch to each side, so it's going to be 5.5, excuse me, I said 1/4 inch. I used to do it a 1/4 inch. It's a little easier if you leave yourself a 1/2 inch seam allowance on each side and a 1/4 inch at each end. So I've got 2 pieces of fabric that are cut 1/2 inch bigger than, longer than this, and 1 inch wider than this. And that gives me this. It's my piece of fabric. This is the back of my fabric. This is my fusible batting, the fusible side to the back of my fabric, and I'm just centering it in there. So I've got a seam allowance all the way around, and I'm going to put it fabric side up. So my fusible fleece is here with the glue side, the rough side up, and I'm going to take my little iron and I'm going to just fuse this together. And it doesn't take long for that to stick. I just need long enough for the iron to heat the glue, and it sticks very nicely to my fabric. Then I take my second piece of fabric, same size, right sides together. So it's just back to back. I can stick a couple pins in there if I want to. And then I'm going to just sew right along the edge of the batting. I'm not going to sew on the batting, but right along the edge. So I'm going to start at the top here, do a little back and forth lock stitch, sew right along the edge of the batting, and off the end a little lock stitch, and then on this side the same thing. Once I've sewn that, it looks like this. So I've created a tube, batting on one side, not on the other. I'm going to reach through I say, pull this right side out, and then a little tip on pressing. You can see it's still kind of rounded. What I want to do is press this seam open and this one. So I'm going to just take my iron and I'm going to push along that edge so this seam is nice and open. It's off center right now, but I just want to open up that seam. It'll give me a much cleaner edge. So I've got both of those kind of pressed open, and now I roll it into place so that when it's the seam allowance is right at the edge, I don't see the front from the back or the back from the front. I get that nice and even, and then use a little best press, which is a nice spray starch that'll set it in place, and I set that seam with my iron. And then I go back again. I want to be sure that I don't see the fabric sneaking from one side to the other, and give it a good press. And then I'm ready to go to my next step, which is really, really hard. I fold it in half, I line up my raw edge, and I sew at a 1/4 inch. Okay, that creates the loop that goes around my can. So when I stitch this, I stitch at a 1/4 inch. You'll be right at the edge of the batting. There won't be any batting in your seam allowance. And then I go back and just do a little bit of a zigzag stitch to finish off that raw edge, and then flip it right side out. So here one is with the zigzag stitch, and I just flip it right side out. And wasn't that a difficult project? And I slide it right over the top. Should fit. It should fit. I say that as I laugh because it doesn't fit. We like to show you our mistakes too. Fits perfectly on the can. I wasn't paying attention and I didn't remember my measurement. I cut it too long, so it doesn't quite fit. I could have fooled you and told you it looked like that, but really that bottom is squished. So be sure you're real careful on your measurements. It's so easy to do. The old carpenter's rule of measure twice, cut once. Yeah, I didn't pay attention to that. So that makes just a cute little can cover. These are just fun to do with kids. If you, easy low sew project. You can even do it without a sewing machine. If you just do a running stitch along each side to hold the pieces together and stitch the end shut, you can do it by hand. They're not quite as sturdy, but they do work. And that was our frugal way to do things. Measure my fabric, cut it down to size, everything just in place. Then we're going to do the Elaines Fast method. I cut this to size. Again, this was 4.5 by 12 3/4 for the Folgers can. I take a chunk of fabric, chunk being whatever scrap I have laying around. I put my two fabrics back to back. Notice I haven't even cut it. I just have a chunk. I'm going to take this, fold it just so. I've got a raw edge here. I need a little extra. So I've got some sticking out on each side and some on the top and bottom. I can go to here. That's my batting piece. I'm going to fuse that in place. A little longer than that, but it'll hold for what I'm doing. And I'm going to do this. And now I can go to my sewing machine, sew down each side, trim off the excess, and I'm ready to go. So I didn't have to measure or cut any of this, but it's not as frugal because I wasted a little bit of fabric on either side. But all you're doing is you're taking that piece of fusible fleece, the exact size you need to wrap around your can or your jar, and then you're adding fabric. You will get a little pattern that we'll put up on Daily Dose today on how to do it. When we originally did this, I used a product called Stitch and Shape, which is a stiffer product than fusible fleece. This is a softer product. That product works great for wrapping. I also used a Velcro closure so you could adjust it a little bit. That works great on a jar where you've got a ridge, top and bottom, and you want the band to lay in between. Sounds funny, but pickle jars are pretty fancy. They have a smooth center, and a lot of times they have some fancy glass work around the top and bottom. So you can just lay the band inside that ridge so the pretty glass shows at the top and the bottom. And sometimes you can't slide the finished, where'd I go here? I can't slide this finished sleeve over the jar if that top edge sticks out further. So you have to just do a smooth wrap, and that way you need to close it with a Velcro closure instead of just sewing the end shut and sliding it over the can. So I hope you had fun. Silly little project, but we're pretty sure you have a lot of coffee cans and plenty of fabric at home. So just a fun little project to cutify things in the kids' room, the sewing room, wherever you want to use them. Hope you had a good weekend. It's not Monday, it's Tuesday. Yeah, it's been a long, long day already. Sorry about that. Hope you had a great day, and we'll see you again tomorrow. Thanks.
Bye.